The hidden facts behind Prince Diponegoro's arrest. Diponegoro's great resistance was successfully broken by the Dutch with stealthful fortress tactics and strategies utilizing Javanese cultural characters. Diponegoro's great resistance was successfully broken by the Dutch with stealthful fortress tactics and strategies utilizing Javanese cultural characters. Liputan6.com, Jakarta Pangeran Diponegoro was one of the most difficult Dutch enemies to conquer. His resistance for 5 years, 1825 to 1830, was so troublesome and even made the colonial government's finances collapse. De Steurs recorded casualties on the Dutch side of 12,749 soldiers who died in hospital and 15,000 people killed and missing in battle. About 8,000 of them were soldiers directly imported from the Netherlands. This war was also costly. The Dutch East Indies government issued money F.5000000, 5 million guilders, annually. The biggest cost is for food and wages. Because of the enormous expenditure, Commissioner General de Bus de Gisignes pressured General de Kock to make savings and immediately finish the war. Because, at that time the Dutch East Indies government was in deficit F 18 million guilders. In response to pressure de Bus, de Kock has noted E.S. de Klerk that we are fighting not only against the rebels, but against the entire people of 2 million. Diponegoro's rebellion, which Dutch historians call Java Oorlog, Java War, was a war that exhausted both sides. The resistance of the Javanese was later recognized as admirable. Javanese warriors who at first glance and outwardly looked stupid and lazy proved to be brave, tenacious, and tough soldiers in battle. Diponegoro soldiers did not find it difficult to get into the forest and survive on potluck food. But for de Kock's troops, they proved impervious to tropical diseases such as malaria, and did not know the terrain of forests and mountains as well as Diponegoro's soldiers. Peter Carey, an Oxford University historian who has been researching Diponegoro for more than 30 years, said that records of Dutch and German commanders showed Diponegoro to be of medium stature, rather stocky, and quite charismatic. Diponegoro himself, he said to Liputan6.com on Wednesday, May 18, 2016, is not someone who is a genius and a good war strategist. But he proved to be very tough and mentally strong, he said. Stealthful Fortress. The Dutch East Indies government was well aware that the Java War would only be successfully suppressed if they succeeded in capturing Diponegoro. However, their attack on Jexo village in July 1826 proved unsuccessful. Diponegoro had left the village as soon as de Kock's troops arrived on the information of a spy. In the war during 1825 to 1830, Pangeran Diponegoro relied on a superior in numbers strategy with offensive tactics. But after the battle in Gawok 1826, the real strategy is not sustainable. In contrast, General de Kock favored a strategy of mobility by relying on pursuit due to the limited number of his soldiers. However, this tactic proved fatal. Many of his soldiers died of exhaustion and illness from epidemics. Not because of fighting, but because of fighting bad weather and rough terrain. Horse harness of Prince Diponegoro collection of Breda Military Museum, Netherlands. In 1827, General de Kock introduced a new strategy called Fort Stelsel. This is a strategy of building a balance of power and prioritizing maneuverability. With this strategy, he tried to lock the movement and strength of Prince Diponegoro's troops. According to the study of Saleh Asad Jamhari, historian of the University of Indonesia, there are several advantages obtained by the Dutch from the strategy of Fort Stelsel. First, the fortifications served as the boundaries of the territory within the defensive area, shortening the distance for the distribution of logistics, the evacuation of troops to rest areas or hospitals. In each fort there are several horses to speed up communication between bases and to break the connection between rebel-held villages, then destroy and expel the rebels. Second, the fort also serves to supervise the surrounding area, prevent the emergence of excesses, village burning, robbery that disrupt the local economy, maintain price stability and the amount of food supplies. Third, the fort was a place to conduct negotiation activities and persuade rebel leaders or village heads by giving gifts in the form of money, opium, or sarong. Arrest of the prince. But at the end of 1829, Prince Diponegoro felt that sooner or later his fate would be decided. After almost being captured on November 11, Diponegoro fought almost alone for 3 months. His suffering was compounded by a severe bout of tropical malaria as he hid in the forests of western Bagalan. On the other hand, the Netherlands is holding a massive contest with the prince's head priced at 20,000 guilders. With 4 fast troops on the hunt, his status as an escapee is only days away. Sooner or later Prince Diponegoro will be forced by circumstances to negotiate his surrender. General de Kock's strategy to cover Diponegoro's movement also intensified. By 1829 General de Kock had built 265 forts. In addition, he also asked for help from Javanese cultural expert, Roorda van Isinga. Saleh Assad Jamhari said this Javanese cultural expert played a big role in the planned effort to persuade Prince Diponegoro to come to the negotiations in Magelang. The Javanese, if they promise never to deny, abstain from licking their own saliva. Moreover, he is a prince, a noble, said Saleh on Wednesday, May 18, 2016. So when General de Kock received a report that Diponegoro and the rest of the troops were in the Remo Jatinegoro teak forest, he made a decision that his subordinates never expected. General de Kock ordered Colonel Clearance to persuade Diponegoro to negotiate. General de Kock was able to exploit cultural values as a weapon system. The cultural values that the Javanese considered noble were exploited as weaknesses and used to beat them back. The phrase "Sabda Pandito Ratu" and the answer yes from Diponegoro was enough for de Kock. With Clarine's assurance that he would survive, Diponegoro set out without any pretensions to Magelang. The casual and pleasant meeting of the Clarines apparently deceived the prince. So on March 28, 1830, after the fasting month ended, Diponegoro came to the residence of the resident who became a place of negotiation. The prince was not suspicious although the security seemed to be more than usual. The prince thought, because the negotiations were carried out after the fasting month ended, then he put forward his manners and intended to do friendship. Although surprised by the end of the negotiations, Gondo Kusumo, the young commander and retinue of Prince Diponegoro in Magelang, said Diponegoro always knew he would eventually be arrested. The prince will be ashamed if he backs down from his demands. But with this search his dignity in the eyes of the people will be maintained, not diminished, his testimony as noted to Stuart.